We start with some expo dump, reminding us that a giant alien face in a tank once kidnapped 5 naive teenagers and groomed them into donning tight lycra and doing his bidding. And he's recruited many more teenagers with attitude into his weird cult through the years, supposedly to protect the Earth and shit. And they're totally known as the Power Rangers. Anyway, we then cut to a middle-aged nerdy bloke sniffing the grass. And turns out this is that Billy kid from the OG series all grown up. And he's facing off alone against a grotesque alien robot queen called Madonna. Rita Repulsa. Billy then randomly declares that it's, quote, morphine time, which gives me flashbacks to when my granddad was hooked on the stuff after he came back from Nam back in the day. But in this universe, shouting out that phrase just seems to give you free clothes and shit, and he soon starts taking everyone on but quickly getting overwhelmed. But luckily, the multicoloured cavalry arrive, and the Black Ranger just can't believe that Rita Repulsa has gone full chrome tard and become some sort of cybernetic Cylon sorcerer, and they all start beating up grey blokes in gimp suits because reasons. Well, that is until the Billy Blue Ranger is about to get deaded, but is saved in the nick of time by Trini the Yellow Ranger, who does one of them self-sacrifice things, before getting sent straight to heaven over a fucking cliff. Meanwhile, Rita cackles about having just committed a hate crime by trying to genocide the one gay cast member and teleports off. Bruh. Later that day, Billy the Blue Ranger and Zack the Black Ranger wonder how on earth they're going to tell Trini's teenage daughter that her mum got sent to Valhalla for jumping in front of a deadly energy beam, all to save a middle-class white man. But said teenage daughter, called Min, accidentally overhears their bickering, and after then spending a whole year running over bridges and raising her leg in the air to prepare herself for some sweet, sweet vengeance, they head over to the graveyard for her mum's 1-year anniversary of getting deaded. And we find out Zack is now a politician. But before she can say, can you do something about California's poopy streets already? They spot their friends confronting that repulsive Robo-Rita bird with pointy boobies, who's rudely crashed their memorial and she... Apparently, she's also brought back 2 classic minions called Snizzard and Minotaur. And they want to make the whole world like this graveyard, so naturally, both sides have a punch-up about it all. But this Snizzard fella totally turns a Red Ranger into a toy figurine, and then miniaturises the Pink and Green Rangers for shits and giggles. So the remaining heroes totally cark and jump in their flying motor to get the heck out of Dodge, chitty chitty bang bang style. Later, Billy and Zack tell Min that she can't join them on their mission to stop that rogue robo-witch, because she's not a ranger and ain't even old enough to buy booze. So shut up about it already. Naturally, she's furious that she can't avenge her deceased female birthing parent, and tells Billy that if it wasn't for him, then her mum would still be alive. And she just says, I'm glad that stung. Though how she can tell how he feels with all that freaking botox in his forehead, I don't know. Meanwhile, over in a secret moon palace, Rita reckons she needs more mini-rangers to power her machine, whilst over on some random island base, a robot called Alpha 9 greets them, and then reminds Billy of that time when they accidentally released Rita Repulsa when they were trying to bring back that Zordon fella from the 90s show. So I guess in a way, Min was totally right, and it was totally Billy's fault that they're in this mess after all. Anyway, Alpha discovers that Rita's minion gimps are doing a bunch of bad things all over the world, so decides to enact the Bandora Protocol and drafting the old and busted budget rangers from the later shows. And before you can say, holy sweet nostalgia Batman, Cat the substitute Pink Ranger appears, and then so does Rocky the substitute Red Ranger. And Rocky's hilariously rocking a dad bod and moaning about his lungs getting cold. Meanwhile, Min is doing some backyard training when she gets news of erupting chaos in Angel Grove, which is currently being terrorised by a bunch of grey gimps known as putty patrollers. Not a joke. And these creeps are attacking the local juice bar, so naturally, she heads into the living room and steals her dead mum's special wristwatch. Meanwhile, the OG Rangers team up to go fight the baddies, but first shout out some more about morphine because apparently they're all druggies, I guess, and are so delirious from their opioid overdose that they also ramble on about various dinosaurs, and all without moving their brow, as it seems that Billy's botox problems have now infected the whole team. LOL! Unfortunately, the putty peeps were totally bait, and Rita has a device that can track where the Rangers are when they put on their special lycra suits and shit. And after Alpha discovers said dastardly plan, he tells the Rangers to power down before they head back to base, or else they'll lead them straight back to him and they might find his robot porn and stuff. Anyway, After tracking the comms back to Rita's lunar lair, they realise that the OG Rangers Tommy, Kimberly and Jason are still captured, and big tech billionaire Billy Balls Cranston comes up with a way to exploit the metallic foes, whilst Min has hot-tailed it down to the Angel Grove juice bar to smack her bitch up. But after trying to summon her mum's special suit by waffling on about drugs and dinosaurs some more, her attempts to summon some powers fall flatter than Prince Elrond's face. So she has to rely on her own regular abilities. But luckily, she's been training for this moment for an entire year, and only has to be saved by two middle-aged blokes with beer bellies after eventually getting her back smashed across a small counter. So after Zack is done showing off his breakdancing fighting skills, he teleports her back to Billy's high-tech HQ, before telling Alpha to sod off and never again to mention the fact that he seems to like to kidnap little girls and bring them back to his mate's secluded island. Said Zack fella then lectures her about being reckless and almost getting smacked up by a gang of gimps. But she just says that he may be a congressman, but he totally ain't her dad, so can't be telling her what to do, whilst proceeding to whine about how her mum was totally yeeted by that alien robot witch, so she totally wants revenge, bro. Meanwhile, Billy stares at a magnet whilst Rocky is busy sucking in his beer belly and adjusting his power girdle. Then they suit up and totally turn the tables on the baddies by baiting them into a trap of their own, and the metallic monsters instantly get stuck atop a crane like a wry bunch of gags. Billy then hands out invisibility gadgets, whilst Min nicks his chitty chitty bang bang-o-mobile but can't get it to fly for love nor money, and after saving an interracial homosexual couple in a kids show because reasons, she confronts her mummy's murderer, but again can't summon her mother's yellowy powers, so instead tries to beat up a literal alien robot witch with her bare friggin' hands. Naturally, she gets totally murked, whilst that repulsive robo-Rita bird totally taunts her about having deaded her Asian mummy. Meanwhile, once the gang sneak into Rita's cratery crib, they try to save their captured teammates, but Billy says he can't move any of them without causing them harm, which may explain the problem he's having with his own forehead. And he realises that she's building a secret time portal to talk to her younger self, so she can tell her said younger self how to beat a bunch of spotty teenagers after 30 years of completely failing to do just that. But then a full-on brawl breaks out, and they proceed to get smacked up all over again, and Rita is now so repulsive that she even manhandles a middle-aged perimenopausal woman. And just before she can commit another hate crime by again targeting the LGBTQ member of the cast, Min gives Billy a bad case of deja vu when she does exactly the same as her mum by diving in front of a deadly energy beam. And before he can say, "Why do small Asian women keep throwing themselves at me even though I like fellas?" Min's left eyeball gets possessed by her mum's memories. Or some shit. But now she's finally earned the power of the Yellow Ranger, and they all scream out for more morphine after that tough battle, and cause she's so young and botox free, Min is able to actually put some emotion into the sequence, and seems to be the only one who doesn't seem to be thoroughly bored and embarrassed to be there. Anyway, now they all have their special suits on, they have yet another punch-up, before realising they have to kill that snizzard fella to free all their friends. But Rita makes her dastardly minion into a giant Godzilla monster, so naturally, they summon dinosaur powers, which all begin attaching to each other like some kind of Frankenstein-y magnet monster, before becoming a giant robot samurai or something. Inside said giant robot samurai, Min asks how do you drive this thing, and the blue Billy Ranger says just do what I do, before proceeding to grasp a long and sturdy shaft. Steady? Anyway, after the other three defeat the Minotaur goon, they beam up to the giant Megazord, where they're soon Amazon Primed a Mega Power Sword with same day delivery. Meanwhile, Rita is breaking through to the mid-90s, where she was just a regular repulsive witch what lived in a dumpster. Again, not a joke. And after the Rangers defeat the snivelling snizzard fella, they arrive in the nick of time to shank up Rita and destroy the machine, before Zack shoots her in the face with an energy rocket and blows her up real good and proper. So, after becoming literal murderers, the gang then says goodbye to each other, as Kat wants to get back to her boyfriend Tommy and their son JJ already, whilst all poor Rocky can think about is getting back to his lunch. And we end with Billy and Min making amends about that time when she blamed him for her mum's death just because he was the sole reason she died, and the trio enjoy smoothies together before we cut to a musical's end-off, in a sweet and moving memorial for the two deceased real-life cast members. And that's it. That's the special epi. Though my favourite part was the Bulk and Skull cameo on the billboard, who seemed to have started a Subway type sandwich business despite being fully qualified skydivers and shit. But anyway, that's the plot and that's your lot. Considering that bell thing so you don't miss any future recaps. Tell me if you like this special epi in the comments if you have time, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.